do the mortgage thing, we need to spend the next 25 years paying this mortgage off. But if we do the FIRE thing, we become millionaires and retire in 3 years.
I did not tap dance out of the office. I had a mini panic attack that very night because I was thinking my identity has been tied to this job for more than a decade. How am I supposed to shift that?
We retired with a portfolio size of 1 million. That was 2015. So now it's 10 years later, and we've been living off of it this entire time. I think yesterday I checked, it was like $2.9 million at this point. And we're like, holy crap.
The more money they made, the more expensive they said the kid cost, which doesn't make any sense. It's like, did the kid actually cost more, or you decided to spend more?
Money is, at the end of the day, an abstraction of time. The first part of our life is exchanging our time for money. Then what retirement does is it flips it, and then we start exchanging our money for our time back.
Welcome to the Our Family Invest podcast, where we explore what happens when family, purpose, and entrepreneurship align. I'm Mike, a former Maui firefighter who reached financial freedom in just 5 years through real estate investing.
And I'm Caroline, a Maui-based realtor here to educate, empower, and elevate my clients to make smart real estate moves, whether right here at home or through my nationwide network.
Together, we're chasing our full potential as individuals, as a couple, and as a family. We're here to build a life that matters. And each week we share the stories of couples who inspire us to love harder, dream bigger, and grow bolder. So join us and let's learn, share, and grow together. Today we're sitting down with Bryce Leung and Kristy Shen, a couple who walked away from their engineering careers in their 30s and never looked back. They've been financially independent for a decade, they've traveled the world with their son, and they wrote the best-selling book, Quit Like a Millionaire. Now they're getting ready to drop their second book, Parent Like a Millionaire Without Being One, in March of this year. All right, you two, before we dive into the money stuff, I want to know who each of you are at your core. But here's the thing. I want you to answer for each other. So Bryce, maybe tell me a little bit about Kristy, and then Kristy, you tell us what we don't know about Bryce.
Woo. Oh, that's interesting. I never heard that format before. Okay. Kristy grew up in China and came to Canada when she was 7. We met when we were in engineering school at the University of Waterloo, and she always wanted to be a writer. And being an engineer was the worst possible choice that she possibly could have picked. I remember at some point she told me that she went to her dad's office, and his dad's a mechanical engineer, and to do like one of those take your kid to work day things. And then she told him in Mandarin, if I had to do your job, I would kill myself. And of course, that's the career that she went into. So when I met her, I knew about by day 2 or 3 that Kristy was just in it for the money. And she definitely wasn't like in engineering for just the joy of being in engineering. No, she was a total sellout, absolute sellout, and proud of it. And and she can't. So she's making them. So for the readers who can't see, or for listeners who can't see, she's making the money sign with her fingers right now. So I knew that she would never be truly happy doing software engineering and coding as a career for the long term. So I wanted to figure out how to get her out of that and to pursue her real passion, which was be a writer. So that's the kind of the impetus that I had for trying to learn about this FI stuff. I thought I was always a hustler, and I was always trying to figure out, how do I get rich? How do I make $1 million by I thought I would write the next big app or something like that in order to get there. And the intent of that was always how do I get her out of this career that she hates and allow her to start pursuing a life that she actually was wants to live. And none of those apps panned out, but the FIRE thing totally did. And that's kind of why when we left, we started pursuing writing professionally and we got our first book published a few years later. It was a children's book called Little Miss Evil. And then after that, we started writing about FIRE because that was something that we were both passionate about, and we were both, we had just done it, and we had a unique voice on it, being being Asians as well as being Canadian. Most of the other FIRE writers at the time were American, so the Canadian perspective was unique at the time, and then also we were unique also that we lived nomadically, so we were traveling all around the world and living out of our backpacks and living this nomadic digital nomad lifestyle before that term was even a thing. So we started writing about that, and we wrote the book, and now I'm happy to say that Kristy gets to actually be that writer that she always wanted to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a really it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
Cool.
And contrary to what he said, so Bryce, contrary to like my experience, Bryce has always been a huge nerd, and he always wanted to be an engineer, nothing but an engineer. Yeah. And when he was in grade 4, where everybody else was reading like children's books and novels, he was reading basic programming language. Yeah. And what he did was he made this banking program for all the kids in the class, because what the teachers would do is like get the kids to do like a little chore and then give them a little reward. And then everybody was losing track of what rewards they did and what chores they did.
They were like little fake Monopoly money, like dollars that you could use to buy pencils and stuff like that.
So then he decided to make a banking app written in BASIC, to help everybody track their rewards. So
yeah, I was a huge nerd.
So he was always a huge nerd.
Grade?
I think it was grade 4, and it was using a Commodore 64 in the computer that nobody knew.
That was one of the greatest computers ever at that time, by the way. I'm just
load star, comma 8, comma 1. I still don't even know what any of that means.
A lot of nerd bonding there right now.
Yes. Cool. Clearly.
How did we get married?
Because we were trapped in a lab together in engineering. That's basically how it went.
That's true. That is how it happened.
Yeah, so definitely he was not in it for the money like me. He actually loved engineering, and he was really good at it. I actually struggle a lot in engineering, and everybody in class knew that Bryce was really good at it because he's been doing it ever since he was a kid. There would be times in which people would struggle, like me, like days on an assignment. He would finish it in like 45 minutes and then just like play video games for the rest of the time.
I play a lot of video games.
Wow.
So he had a great time.
I love that. Okay. Well, I love to kind of like dial it back a little bit to origin story. And it sounds like you met in engineering school. Can you take us back to how that evolved and what your first date was like?
Yeah, we were lab partners.
Yeah, so that was not the first date. That was just like us being partnered together put together as a lab partner. We did not know that we both like to mess stuff up in the lab. So what happened was, so here's the story. So what happened was we were doing a semiconductors lab, and then there was 2 pieces of main equipment where you have an oscilloscope where you see the waveform, and then there's a microscope in which you're looking at these silicon wafers, and you're supposed to describe the color of the silicon wafer. And so what happened was that the TA kept droning on and on and on and telling us like, okay, you got to be giving us a list of a gazillion rules of what we need to follow, what we need to put in our lab book. And both of us were so bored that what Bryce did was he just saw the first red button in front of him, and then he just pushed it and then looked at the TA and said, beep. And then that ended up being the power button to the oscilloscope, which just reset the entire waveform, everything, like all the lab stuff that the TA had set up before we started. He just messed everything up, like restarting it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. TA was not happy at all. He's like, what? What? You just wasted half an hour of my time. Now I have to do everything again. Okay, don't touch anything. You 2 idiots stay here. Don't touch anything. Let me reset everything. So while he's doing that, I get super bored. And then I look and I see this dial in front of me. It's actually attached to the microscope. And I'm like, I wonder what this dial does. So I start turning the dial, not knowing what it does. And what it actually did was, so there's the oscilloscope the microscope that you're looking at, there's supposed to be 2 needles that hold down the silicon wafer so that it doesn't move as you're examining it. And what I ended up doing with turning that dial was I ended up moving the entire platform with the needle still holding onto the wafer. You're actually supposed to detach it, like move the needles away before you do that. So I just ended up scratching, like moving the platform and scratching the heck out of the entire silicon wafer, which completely defeated the entire purpose of the lab, which means he had to go get another
and
wafer.
It destroyed the wafer.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was super mad. I could see like at that point, he just looked at me. He was like, you could just see like the thought bubble in his eyes. What did I tell you to do? Not to touch anything? What the heck are you doing? You could see this purple vein like on his forehead, just like pulsating and about to pop as he's staring at us.
And we just thought it was so. We thought his anger was hilarious because we're poor students. What are you going to do?
We have no money.
Take our debt? Sure, yeah, fine, whatever. So we just booked it, and we became known. And then in subsequent versions of the lab, we became known as that couple that messed up the station.
Yeah,
and we're like,
they used us as an example.
Nobody be like those idiots.
Yes, do not mess with the equipment when your TA is talking to you.
I don't think we did very well on that lab, but I didn't care.
Yeah, whatever. And then we came up with the code name for our group, that the 2 of us. We were Team Danger. You were Trouble. I was Danger. We were Team Mayhem, and then TA was our arch nemesis, safety and reason.
So that's what our first date was.
Okay.
I can see how the creative writing came through in your lab.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe you weren't meant to be engineers.
No, not at all.
So then were you just like attracted to each other from the get-go over the wafer, or?
Over the wafer? I think I think
I think it grew over time. Honestly,
so
like you don't really think about
says
dating.
no for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wore me down. You wore me down.
I think she said
You
that.
relentlessly wore me down over time.
I think she said. I think you do sometimes use that incident as a way of kind of saying that, like neither of us take this stuff like
Too seriously. We don't take ourselves too seriously.
too seriously, and we realize that even when we're destroying things, especially when we're destroying things, we
know how to have fun.
we know we have fun with
Yeah.
it. So we are so I think that's kind of where our dynamic kind of started to.
Yeah, you were actually way more fun than I thought you would be because I thought you were just a big nerd.
Yeah.
You brought it out of him.
All right. So I hear a baby in the background.
That's not ours, so we
no,
don't care.
That's not yours, of course.
No, don't care.
Well,
So
someone
why don't you
else's problem.
explain, full disclosure, why don't you explain where you're
Before
at
we're
right
ignoring children.
We're not ignoring each other. So right now we're actually talking to you guys from a co-working space, which is there's like more and more of these kinds of things that are popping up everywhere, which is it's like a daycare attached to a co-working space. So you pay by the hour, and then they have they have like this big like indoor playground where they watch your kid for you. And then you get to come into like this little co-working space and do work. We actually wrote a significant part of our book in this space.
Oh, really?
The second book, yeah.
Yeah, the
That's
second book.
cool.
We would, So there's like, we would pay for like 3-4 hours, and we would just come here and write like crazy while someone's watching our kid, and he's having a great
Yeah, he's
time.
actually really likes it. So.
He really likes it here. He recognizes
Because he can see you through the bar, so he knows that you haven't abandoned him, right? But then he's like distracted by all the like kids to play with and all the stuff that he's not. Like he doesn't have anxiety, so it actually works out really well.
Yep.
Nice. Guys, okay, I want to jump into the FIRE community. And for those listening that aren't familiar, FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. It's a big movement. And a lot of people, we've had a couple guests that are known in that space. But what was that like when you discovered that community, and what were those conversations like about, hey, maybe we should go down this path if engineering doesn't work out for us?
Well, it wasn't really even a community back then. Like back when we started looking into this, I was looking to figure out, we were actually trying to save up money to buy a house. So we were just doing like that kind of normal, middle class thing where everyone does: get a house, get a mortgage, and then work until 65, and then hopefully you don't get laid off and retire with a pension. And at the time, Kristy's job was becoming more and more unstable. Kristy, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So right now, like everyone's terrified of AI replacing their jobs. Back then, it was outsourcing. So the danger was software developers, their jobs being outsourced overseas for other developers who have obviously much lower cost of living, and they're willing to work for $5 an hour. So how are you going to be able to compete with that? So initially, I really wanted to buy a house because everybody else was doing that, and that was just the script. Like you got to follow the script. If you don't follow the script, then bad things are going to happen. But then I realized bad things were already happening, and if I followed the script and I get a 25-year mortgage, I may not have a job in the next 2 years. How am I going to pay for the mortgage? And then on top of that, the housing prices kept going up. Like even on 2 engineering salaries, we just kept even though we saved a lot of money, the goalpost kept moving. You'd save that amount of money, and then the house price would go up more than how much you saved the next year. And then it just kept going down that path. I'm like, okay, I don't think this path makes any sense anymore. It may have made sense for our parents, but now the environment is completely different. What can we do? What else is there that's out there? We actually explored multiple options before FIRE. One of the options I explored was online entrepreneurship. I was looking at blogs on how to back then it was like how to game SEO so that your blog is number one, and then you like do affiliate marketing and you sell things like that. Some other I was also thinking about Amazon, drop shipping, things like that. That was the very, very beginning of that. Like now it's like a lot more developed. But then after I researched into that, I discovered that I was going to quit a job that I was working 60, 80 hours to work to run a business that was going to be working 100 hours. And I needed to run the business while I had my job. So I would have to get up early every morning, work on the business, go to my full-time job, come back, work on the business. I was like, I just don't have the energy for that. This is just not going to happen. So then that's when I think peripherally we discovered the Pete's blog from reading one of those entrepreneurship blogs.
Pete being Mr. Money Mustache.
Yeah, Mr. Money Mustache.
Who's also Canadian, actually.
Yeah, the fact that he was Canadian.
Yeah,
the fact that Burlington. I think he's from Burlington.
Hamilton,
actually.
Burlington?
Yeah. So that gave us a lot of hope that, oh, wait, there's actually another path I've never even heard of. What is this FIRE thing? Tell me more about this. And then that's when we really latched onto it, because it was like, oh, it's related to your savings rate. Like, that's something I have control over. And especially with my background of growing up on 44 cents a day and like coming from a very rural Chinese village, I was like, yeah, I can do this. This is something that's within my control. This is something I can, like, I have a high enough salary. I can definitely make this work. The only thing we were worried about was it was like a lot of the bloggers were American. So we're wondering, is this, does it not work in any other country? Like, what does that entail if you're Canadian? And then so kind of decided to try it out and see how it would go. When we did the math, I kept looking at the spreadsheet. And then as an engineer, I was like, okay, the math says it should work, but my brain just can't process that we could be, done with work in about 5 years. And then when we actually started the ball rolling, it really snowballed very quickly. Like, once you get to a certain net worth, it just takes off on its own. In the beginning, it's painful, but after that, it runs away. And then that's why we actually reached our goal in 3 years instead of 5 years. And then after that, it's just been like, we've been traveling the world, we've been following our passion, we've been hanging out with friends, and somehow the momentum has continued going. So you actually don't need to put much money into it, and it just keeps snowballing because it's reached a certain point. The portfolio has reached a certain point in which it just takes on a life of its own. So
yeah, when we first retired, we retired with a portfolio size of $1 million. And now that was 2015. So now it's 10 years later, and we've been living off of it this entire time. And now it's like 2.8. I think yesterday I checked, it was like $2.9 million at this point. And we're like, holy crap. Like, it really does just grow faster than you can spend it at a certain point. And it enters this state where I call financial runaway, where it just where the growth is just explosive, because, 10% growth on $100,000 is $10,000, but 10% on like $3 million is like $300,000, right? So it's like that kind of exponential growth really becomes a force that works harder than you can.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is I think about this sometimes, and our audience comes from all walks, and we have a lot of real estate investors here.
Yep.
And we invest in real estate a lot too, and real estate has gotten us to financial independence. But I've also thought, like, if you look at it, like, some of the things that we invest in is lending funds. And we have this one particular lending fund that pays more than a 10% return. And when you compound that, we let it just reinvest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, looking at it, we could take our entire portfolio and sell it all off, put it in this lending fund, and be home free and let it continue to build super, super easily. And it's weird because, like you said, Kristy, like, it hurts my brain to think game over. It's so easy. Like, we don't need anywhere near what we have because we live off of so much less. Yeah. And we live a pretty good lifestyle too. But I think people can't get their minds around, well, wait, how does that work? But when you understand how compounding works and how budgeting works and how, staying within your means works, it actually can math pretty easily, huh?
Yeah, it's like a superpower once you figure this stuff out. And that's kind of why we started writing the blog, because we wanted to create an educational resource to teach people how to do this, because all around us in Canada especially has this obsession with real estate. So everybody wants to, everybody just cares about working so that they can afford a mortgage, so they can get into the biggest mortgage they can, and then they work to pay the mortgage off, and that's pretty much what everyone's life is like up here. And when I figured out how the math works of how powerful it is, I was doing the math when we were trying to decide whether we wanted to continue down this mortgage path or go down this FIRE path. And the math suggested that it goes, okay, if we do the mortgage thing, we need to spend the next 25 years paying this mortgage off. But if we do the FIRE thing, we become millionaires and retire in 3 years.
Okay.
And when you understand how stark that contrast is, it just made me want to like just shout it from the rooftops and tell everyone you don't have to live like this. If you want to, great. Like a lot of people just there are people out there that just love their home and they love sitting in their home and decorating it and remodeling it and doing all that kind of stuff. Great. But there's also a lot of people that don't like it and just think that that's the only like option out there. So we wanted to teach people how the math works, and that's why we keep saying on our blog, learn how to math shit up so that you can understand how you can make money work harder than you ever could. And once you figure that out, you can choose that path or you can choose another path, but at least it'll be an informed decision either way.
What's been really crazy is that when we started this free workshop, basically just step-by-step guide on how to invest the way that we do. So that was started about 8 years ago. We have been retired about 10 years. But there's more and more people like emailing us recently because it's been long enough. They're showing their graphs and comparing it with ours. And it's like, this hockey stick shape that you told us about? This is exactly what's happening. Like they started off, one person had a $40,000 salary and now they got to $1 million. Another person, they started off broke and now they're like 800,000. It's just crazy. And all different walks of life. Like not all engineers either. Like some people are nurses, some people are entrepreneurs, and some people are in New Zealand, some people are in the UK, some people are in the US. It's all over the world. So it's been mind blowing. Like we have left for long enough that you can kind of see that result because it's almost been 10 years. And people who started at the very beginning, it's like, man, I'm so glad I started 8 years ago because my life has been changed and how many things have been accomplished in that amount of time.
Yeah, just before this podcast started, she actually our phone pinged and then she said, "Hey, remember this person?" And I was like, and I was like, "Who?" And I read it, and it's our very first reader case that we ever did on our blog. The very first one. She was like a university professor who was trying to not a university professor. She worked in a university and she was trying to pay off her student debt. And she was trying to figure out how all this stuff worked. And then she just recently emailed us like right now and just said, "Yeah, I'm retired.
I'm officially fired.
I'm officially fired."
Yeah.
And
it is amazing. Yeah.
So that's been a really cool. I mean, like I guess you guys will also kind of know what this is like. Like the impact that you can have doing this is so much bigger than we could have had in our jobs. Like the stuff that I did in my job, I could have, the work that I did in my engineering job, I had the ability to maybe move my company's stock price a little, like in a quarter. Okay. Cool. That's great. But the impact that I have doing this job is that I can actually change people's lives and make people rich and make people a lot happier. And it creates this wave of impact around the world that I wasn't expecting at all when we first started doing it. And it's, I like it a lot.
Yeah. So kind of jumping from blog to writing Quit Like a Millionaire, what was the turning point for you guys to actually write that and share your story?
The funny thing is we actually didn't want to write it initially because after writing a children's book, we're like, oh my God, there's so much effort.
Guys, there's
so much effort and so much rejection. We got like 200 rejections trying to write a children's book.
Like every writer, like we have 200 rejection emails from querying. So when you are trying to publish a book, you have to get an agent first. Carolyn was just pointing at Mike. Did you do this as well?
Yeah, we've written a couple books
so
as well.
Eventually
ended up self-publishing them because it was just such a nightmare. And
so you get it. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Every author who eventually publishes a book has had the crap kicked out of them psychologically until their self-worth is basically in the trash. Yeah. And then if at that point they still continue to writing,
they really want
that's how you know that they're a writer. And they might have a mental defect or disease of some sort. Both can be true. In fact, both are often true. Mm-hmm. But it's like a published author is, I think, I describe it to people as a person who just keeps getting told no a million times and just won't take the hint.
Not getting the message.
Not getting the message. He's like, well, I'm going to talk maybe the millionth the one time.
That's the same as insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing over and over again without changing. Yep.
So we were at a Chautauqua with, I'm going to do some name dropping here, J.L. Collins and Pete, I think.
Actually, let me go back before that because how we actually got the offer was quite interesting. The blog was actually read by a Hollywood actress, and she had written into us and said, "Oh my God, I really like the workshop. It's really life changing. I told my literary agent about you to write a book, so she might be in contact with you." And then we get her editor at Penguin, and then we get an email the next day, and it's actually from the Penguin editor saying, "Would you like to write a book?" And even at that point, we're like, do we want to write a book?
I
And
don't
we
know.
had all this PTSD from writing the children's book. We're like, I'm not sure. Like, I was like, I will talk to her, but I'm not sure if I want to write this book. It wasn't until we actually went to a financial retreat in which we were the speakers, and then Pete, Mr. Money Mustache was there, J.L. Collins was there, and we talked to J.L. Collins. We're like, do we want to write a book? I mean, we're kind of retired. We don't really need to. Should we do it? And he was like, do the book. You need to write the book. Just write the book, okay? Trust me. And then we wrote the book, and we're like, oh my God, thank God we talked to the godfather of FI, because he was right 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Writing a book in this space gives you this gravitas that is like, and this authority that that a blog or like a really popular Twitter account just doesn't seem to quite have that effect.
Yeah, some people describe it as like a blog is like a book is a permanent marker, whereas a blog is a dry erase marker. So it is something that kind of lasts beyond you. And a blog, you kind of jump in and out. Like a new person comes in, they'll see like a blog coming up like that is written and they haven't started from the beginning. Whereas the book, they can kind of take this very long journey with you from the very beginning to the end. And it's a way to spread big ideas. And it lasts so much longer than a blog. So we are actually very grateful that we wrote it, even though initially we were kind of hesitant.
Okay, so you wrote the book. When it took off, did that feel like validation, responsibility, pressure, or something more complicated? Because now you're kind of committed as experts in the space.
I felt relief because there's so much of my childhood and family history in there that it felt very uncomfortable. Leading up to the book launch, I was like having trouble sleeping because I was like, this feels very vulnerable. So it's not just like a rejection of like what you've written. It's like a rejection of you because it's so many personal details in there that I was relieved that it actually did what it like beyond our wild expectations, how well it did. And enough people wrote into me and said, thank you so much for sharing your childhood story, because I also came from poverty. And I didn't think that this path was possible for me because I just thought that people have to be born rich in order to be wealthy. So that has connected me with many, many readers just because they feel seen that I'm sharing the story from someone who came from a poverty background rather than middle-class background like a lot of the other people in FIRE.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, guys. Okay, so you did the math, you realized that you could walk away, but that's like that's one thing. And then to actually leave the paycheck, like it's not, okay, we've got all this money now, it's going to be Lambos and Prada and sipping Mai Tais on yachts, right? I mean, that's what happens when you retire. What were your actual calculated next moves? What did you guys do?
We didn't think that travel was going to be so inexpensive.
Yeah.
We thought travel would cost at least $75,000 to $100,000 a year. And our original plan was to come back to Canada after a victory lap around the world for a year and then settle in a cheap small town in a suburb of Toronto. That was our original plan.
Yep.
That did not happen. What ended up happening was we actually went traveling, and we didn't just go to like, Paris, London, New York, like the obvious places that everybody went to. We went to some of the off the beaten path places, and we went to Southeast Asia. We discovered Thailand and Chiang Mai, and then that was history. After that, we're like, but it's actually less expensive to travel as long as you average out the expensive places with the inexpensive places, and it's less expensive than living in a major metropolitan city. Why would we come back? Let's just keep going. And then we did.
That was the first taste of the term hadn't been coined yet, but it was what would eventually become geographic arbitrage. So, which became very popular during the pandemic because everyone was remote and people were starting to understand. Oh, hey, if I go down to Oaxaca, Mexico, I can all of a sudden drop my living expenses while keeping the same salary. So, similar kind of thing as that. Our portfolio is still domiciled in Canada, earning Canadian and American dollars using the Canadian and American and the European stock markets. But we were living in Thailand, and in Thailand, we our living expense. I mean, like we were spending like $500 a month in rent.
It was a pool condo
like
with a
nice,
pool. Yeah, in a very
nice condo with like centrally
popular
located
part of the city.
And it was like a pool, and there was like a pool that we went to like every day. We would say our days would be either 2 pool days or 3 pool days. Did we go to the pool twice or did we go to the pool
Don't
3
forget the
times?
massages afterwards, and like $10, $20 massages.
And massages for like $10 and meals were like $2. We were like living like kings. And at the end of the day, we realized we were spending less money than our portfolio was paying in dividends. So I wasn't even selling anything. I was I was just the dividends and the interest that the portfolio was just passively generating. I was spending less than that. So I was literally sitting on a beach drinking Mai Tais, and I was being paid to do it. So that's kind of when we started going, oh, this is a whole other thing that I did. This is a whole other world that I had no idea existed, because back then digital nomads weren't really a thing, right? And so when we came back after a year, we looked through all of our spreadsheets. Kristy had recorded every single, dollar, euro, and baht that we spent, and we compiled everything up. And then we realized that, hey, if you average your time between expensive place, you can design a certain budget by spending more time in a cheap place and less time in like an expensive place. You can still go to Switzerland, but if you spend a week in Switzerland and a month in Thailand, then your average cost drops dramatically. And we realized that the cost, that the amount of money that we had spent while traveling was about the same as the amount of money we were spending just living in one place in a high cost city like Toronto. And that's kind of when we went, why don't we just do this forever? Because it's cheaper. And so we did. Like, we just got on a plane to Japan, and then we just kept traveling for like
next 6 years
for
until the pandemic
basically
hit.
For like 6 years until the pandemic hit. We were just living out of a backpack, and we were just like living nomadically. And as we were doing this, we were traveling, we were having a great time, we were meeting all these cool new friends and new people from all walks of life, and learning all these different ways of living, and our portfolio just kept going up and up and up and up and up. So, because again, we were spending so much less money than our portfolio was making, and we were just taking our dividends that we weren't spending and just reinvesting it back in and letting it compound. So I'm just like, wow, if people just understood how these different pieces of this puzzle, which is budgeting, investing, the passive income stuff, the FIRE stuff, and travel, kind of can fit together to design this life in which you can basically get paid to travel. I don't think people would. I don't think people would get into mortgages. Turns out I was wrong. A lot of people do tend to still like getting into mortgages and all that. But it was just such a cool way to live that I just wanted to shout it from the rooftops.
That's super cool. I love that. And I think that would be my first approach too, would be like Southeast Asia, somewhere, Indo, Thailand, somewhere like that, that's a lot less expensive than, we live in Hawaii, right? It's a very expensive place.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
So we can pretty much go anywhere and be okay with that. I am going to back up though and defend real estate a little bit though, and mortgages, and nothing against you, because I do want to make a very clear distinction. I've looked at real estate in Canada, and I don't understand how it makes sense. So I see what you guys see too. In the US, it can make sense if you do it the right way. And, for us, one of the things you said earlier on that you saw what these home prices kept going up and whatnot. That's what we've seen here too. And so, like, for us, we bought a property in 2018 for $500,000, right? And the mortgage stays the same for the next 30 years or however long it is. But at the same time, we're renting it out, and we're able to make a lot of cash flow off that property. And that cash flow goes up when the rents go up. And last year we sold that property for $1.4 million. So that's one property, and we have several properties, right? So you can grow income off of real estate as well, provided that it's not like when I think when you're talking about mortgages, you're talking about like your personal home,
primary
right?
residence.
Your personal home, your primary residence, that absolutely can be a liability if you're not renting out rooms or a section of your home or something like that. Then you're 100% right. And that's what most people don't see. Initially, they think, like you said, Kristy, it's this script, like this is what we do. We get to this stage, and then we buy a home, and then we pay off the mortgage over 30 years. And then what? Right?
Well, and also just to add on that too, that's usually in line with a W-2 income. So if your W-2 income does go away, perhaps that one primary mortgage is not going to get paid, and then you don't have a place to live, or you have to change your lifestyle out of necessity versus being diversified. So what's cool about the path to financial freedom is there's so many avenues and so many ways that work, which is super cool.
I love that. And
that's a really good point that you
wanted. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's a really good point that, Mike, that you brought up, because in investment real estate, like, there's a saying that you make money when you buy it. Like, if you buy at the right price, everything kind of works out. But if you buy the wrong price, there's almost nothing that you can do to make that work. And that line of this is a good price, like Canada passed it and waved it at it and waved at it as it went past there like years ago. Here in Canada, when people buy condos, first of all, we don't have fixed mortgages. Our mortgages reset every 5 years because that's just the way our mortgages work. When you guys are 30-year fixed, you guys are 30-year fixed. Here, they reset every 5 years. So if interest rates go up, you do get hit by that. And here, the condo prices are so high. Like right now, I'm sitting in here in Toronto. I'm surrounded by condo buildings, and just like a few years ago, like a 1-bedroom condo would go for like $750,000-$850,000. There is just no way that you can rent, that you can make enough money to rent to pay for that mortgage. And a lot of people that are investors didn't. They were actually making less money after taxes and even just gross. And losing money every year. And the only reason why they did that and make it make sense is because they were expecting the real estate to go higher and to be able to sell it and then cover their losses that they were taking every month. That is not how you do it, right? No. That is not how you do anything.
That's scary.
Yeah,
that is very scary. And then this past year in Canada, if you have been Carolyn, if you've been following with Canadian real estate news, especially in Vancouver, condos have dropped. Real estate has dropped precipitously because all this stuff that's happening in the States has affected our real estate market. And now those $780,000-$850,000 condos are now being sold at like $450,000.
Yeah.
And people are losing their shirts. Because that's exactly what happens when you don't understand. That's exactly what happens when you don't mess shit up.
And we're not talking about owning like real estate in terms of investment. We actually do own real estate in the form of REITs. It really is just owning real estate in terms of putting all your net worth into one family home that you are tied with your ego a lot of the times, because a lot of the people that we were surrounded with, including my own boss, that's like, you got to get a house fast because like nobody wants to see you as a loser renter. Like you got to have status. Like that's what people do when they buy a house at this age. So it really is tied to status, and everybody puts everything into one. It's not about real estate investing. That's a whole different ball game. So our frustration was really just people buying one big house. They always say, buy the biggest house you can afford. And then they spend their entire lives bragging about how great their house is. And then they're trapped in like not diversified in one asset that they can't sell. That was our frustration. And that was a lot of the people that we were spending time with. And then after we left, we met a lot of real estate investors. And I found that super interesting because it's a very different way of looking at things. Yeah. So you're absolutely right that you can definitely make more money than the stock market with sweat equity. That is a different path to fire altogether. And that the great thing is like people have all these different choices, but just don't follow the script of, you need to buy one house and then brag about how great your house is and it's tied to your ego. That is not a good way to live.
Hey family, real quick. If you'd rather watch your content, head over to Our Family Invests on YouTube. You'll find this episode and all our episodes over there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your takeaways in the comments. Now, back to the show.
100%. So, okay. So you guys are traveling, you're seeing all these cool places, you are living off of less than you are earning in your portfolio, which is amazing, right? How, and
without working engineering 60 to 80 hours a week.
Yeah. But, I'm curious because when you have that kind of freedom, that's also a blank slate, right? So how did you put structure in? How did you find your purpose when you have no rules anymore?
I have to say, it's actually pretty scary, despite the fact that I hated my job. And I thought that after giving my notice, I would just be like tap dancing out of the office. I did not tap dance out of the office. I had a mini panic attack that very night because I was thinking my identity has been tied to this job for more than a decade. How am I supposed to shift that I'm going to have an identity crisis? And it actually took it. It's not a one-day fix. You're definitely not going to become FI. You reach the magic number. You identity changes and all of a sudden you're a superhero. That's not how it works. What really helped was traveling for us because the fact that we packed everything up and we had to evaluate what was useful to us and what we needed to bring with us on our trip and what we needed to get rid of. That was very cleansing. It was let's reevaluate our priorities. And then when you actually start traveling, one of the best things about that is people don't ever ask, what do you do for a living? Versus in North America, that is so tied to your identity. It's always like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? It's like, that is my job. I am not my job, but everybody thinks like that. But when you travel, people are like, where are you going? Where did you come from? What's your favorite food? They actually care about you as a person. So I found that was very good mind shift to get out of that bubble. Like everybody's so tied to their jobs and their ego, and everybody was just traveling and then just having fun and then trying to make friends. Finding structure, and over time you will get bored. Like there's different stages of retirement that we discovered, and it's not that different from a regular retiree versus an early retiree. The very first stage is the honeymoon stage, in which everybody's like, yeah, I quit my job, I'm gonna play video games all day, I'm gonna sit in my underwear in my basement playing video games, I'm gonna go on the beach and I'm gonna drink daiquiris all day. And that's really fun, and for some people it lasts for 6 months, some people it could last over a year, but eventually you kind of get bored after a while, and you start looking at, okay, how can I be a part of the bigger picture? How can I give back? How can I be involved in something? And then you kind of shift gears, and then you start being experimental. So for some people, they may need some time to kind of wrap their mindset over losing the old identity. So there's kind of like a grieving period in which you're like, okay, I'm grateful for this identity. It got me to FIRE, but it's time to let go of this identity. It's not who I am. I am not my job. So you need some time to get over that. There could be some grieving. And then you go to experimental phase in which you're like, let's try different things and see what we actually like. And some people find that the thing that they thought they would like while they're working, they didn't enjoy it at all. Like one of my friends was like, you know what, why don't I work in a bubble tea shop for a bit? Because she loves bubble tea. She's like, I can get free bubble tea. I love talking to people. I love talking about bubble tea. It's going to be great.
Turns out drinking bubble tea
is not the same.
Working in a bubble tea shop
very different.
Are very different.
Very different.
Things.
Yeah. Yeah. So then after about 2 weeks, she's like, you know what? This is not for me. I am not enjoying this at all. But that's okay. She did something. She's like, you know what? I'm going to start my own business, being an artist, and I'm going to make art. And then you try something else. And it really is just try. And the thing is giving yourself permission to fail. That's the best part. And having what we like to call financial independence is we like to say that it's a suit of armor, because it's actually protecting you if you fail at this endeavor. Because if you had a job and you failed at that job, you're like, this is my livelihood. I can't take any risks. I gotta do what my boss says. I can't be like experimenting. I can't be doing side projects. But once you have the financial armor, then you can try and fail as many times as you want, and the money doesn't matter. It's like, you know what? I did this entrepreneurship thing. I made some art. It made maybe $1,000. Like when we wrote the children's book, it made like $5,000 maybe in the entire 5 years that we did it. Yeah, but it's like, who cares?
We were like the highest grossing book that year from the publisher.
From that small publisher.
And we're like, sweet.
But you know what? It doesn't matter, because if your portfolio pays for your living expenses, you're like, I don't care. I had fun. Right. It was great. You give yourself permission to fail. And that's the beauty of it. And then after you might end up doing something that really takes off. Like you got to FI because of these skills that you have and the discipline that you developed in terms of working on something for a really long time. So maybe one of these hobbies pans out and you accidentally make money, and then it starts taking off, and then you really like doing that. And sometimes you get burnt out from that, because at one point we were doing the writing thing so well. We were like, we're doing a lot of media appearances. And then at one point we had a retreat where we were doing a talk. We just finished reading an audio book. Then we went to a international,
it was a movie premiere
for
a documentary
for the thing with FIRE.
Us.
Yeah. And then we had another talk after that. And I'm like, okay, this is way too much. I'm getting burnt out from this career. We need to retire from retirement. This is too much.
That's what happens when a bunch of type A people start to really when a side hustle starts to become a little bit too much.
Yeah. And your A-type personality starts coming out, because that's the reason why you became FI in the first place, because you're A-type. And you're like, wait, I need to calm down. So then there's the last stage in which you reinvent yourself and you redefine what happiness is. And that's what I find that the pandemic was really good in giving us that mindset that I was never expecting to have, is that it kind of turned off all my opportunities. Like this Google talk you're doing, you're not doing that anymore. Cancel. You were supposed to be doing this documentary. Cancel. You were supposed to be doing this big talk for over 1,000 people. Cancel. Everything is canceled.
We had a TV show that we were filming.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a TV show. Canceled.
In LA.
Everything canceled.
Like a Millionaire. Everything
canceled. And then at that point, you're just like, okay, I have to sit with myself with doing nothing, and I have to figure out how to be happy just existing. And that was actually mind-blowing. And then at the same time that one of the reasons why we came back to Canada was because of the pandemic, but we also had a family emergency. So I'll let you talk about that in a second. But it also shifts all your priorities in terms of, it's not all about the side hustle that you've grown. It's not about your A-type personality. It's not about any of that. What is the purpose to life? And you start asking all these very deep questions that you never had time to ask when you were working, and you were too scared to ask because you don't know if you don't know if you're going to like the answer. So I'll let you talk through that that whole stage of reinventing yourself and discovering what's actually important.
Yeah, so FIRE is kind of like it's people think it's a spreadsheet, like it's a spreadsheet and a math problem, but it's actually like half of it's about numbers and the other half is about psychology and philosophy and about like kind of it's almost kind of like a spiritual like journey like for the second half of it, when you then have to figure out what is actually important to you if your job is not the thing that defines you. So when the pandemic hit, I was also hit with another whole other thing where my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer. So I had to come back to Toronto and we had to figure out how to, not give him COVID and kill him, because he was on chemo and he was he was going through all this, and he was immunocompromised. So it was like this whole bubble thing that we had to do, especially around him, to protect him, as well as supporting mom and dad as they were both going through this terrible disease. And that's kind of when I really realized what FIRE was really good for, because I was able to just be able to like be there and be present and be there to help my mom deal with this, like at all hours of the day and all hours. And I basically had like infinite availability to take care of my dad. And that became really, really important, because what I realized going through that entire process is that money is, at the end of the day, an abstraction of time, right? It's like we're only given like the resource that we actually we are given a finite amount of time on this earth when we're born. We don't know how much of it we have, but it eventually ends. And money is a useful medium of exchange to get stuff so that you don't have to do it yourself. Like, I don't want to bake my own bread, so I pay someone else to do that for me. So we spend the first part of our life exchanging our time for money. That's what we do when we work. But then what retirement does is it flips it, and then we start exchanging our money for our time back, and then and then that it turns out that that's actually the real resource that's important, because the ability to spend your time the way that you want to spend it, that's what real freedom is. And when Dad got sick, I realized that the most important thing that I actually in my life was to spend my time with the people that I love, doing the things that I love doing with them, and it really became like so important, especially near the end of his life, when the disease really progressed, where he really couldn't go. He really required 24-hour care, and me and my sisters had to start running like shifts so that someone who was always there, even at like 4 a.m. when he needed to get up and go to the bathroom, or when he would get up and not realize where he was and start like trying to climb the stairs and stuff like this. That the fact that I was able to be there and be present and be able to kind of like help out, that really was kind of what FIRE was all about.
And then really crazy thing was I was actually pregnant at that time. So my due date was actually the date of his dad's funeral. It was really crazy. Wow. Yeah. And we were saying that the really weird thing was that you were losing your dad at the same time that you were learning to become a dad.
Yeah.
So it's this weird like circle of life that we were not expecting. And then not only did FIRE give us the ability to spend time with your dad and be a caregiver, it also gave us time to spend with our son. It gave us the ability to like see his milestones, to be here when he needed us, to not have to choose between selling our time for money at work and just choosing the people that we love. And then that was the really strong, the thing that I realized, that's the purpose to life. It's not about traveling the world. It's not about like just finding yourself and flitting around and all that stuff. It's about buying back your time, which is the most valuable resource, and then deciding what to do with that, which we wanted to use that to spend time with people we love.
That was a really tough transition for me. And if I had to then split my time with work, I had to get back to my job, like something's going on in the back burner, and it's either going to be my dad or my son.
Or dad and work, and then your family is left alone, and then you're not cultivating that too. So I think, people want that, but they don't necessarily realize that it is possible and it is attainable, and you don't always have to choose, and you don't have to leave your family behind. So I'm glad that you got to do that, even though that was a really hard transition.
People,
Okay.
when people do like that values exercise, or like what's important to you, like they always say, they almost always put like family in like the top like three is like, oh, I want to spend time with my family. But then it's like no one ever says, yeah, money's the most important. Well, not no one, but most people don't do that. But then when you kind of like compare that to how they actually like live their lives, you realize that you might say that your family is your priority, but you don't act like
Actions
your
speak
family.
otherwise.
You
Yeah.
don't act like your family is the most important
Yeah.
thing, because if you did, you maybe wouldn't be taking all this money and blowing it on ATVs or speedboats or
Yeah.
more or debt for like other, like consumer goods that you want, because you could be using that to spend more time with your family, but you're not, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like Fired allows you to really reveal what you're like. It really allows you to live your values true to your life, true to what your values are, without the constraint and the polluting effects of needing to earn an income and needing to go to a
Yeah.
job, because that really just kind of, it messes
Yeah,
things up.
and I really like what Kristy was saying. Like, it's not about flitting around. It's living intentionally. So
Yep.
this gives you the option to do that, and so make it count. So there's those two parts. It's
Yeah.
like tangibly getting to it and putting the work in to make it happen, but also now that you have bought your time back, what do you do with it? And that's kind of why we're having this discussion, is
Yeah.
so that
And
people do that.
I want to go into the family aspect too, since we started touching on it here, because I know there's a lot of people, I'm sure you've heard this question a million times, right? But it's like, oh, that's great for you guys. You don't have kids. You can do this. Well, now you do have a kid, right?
Yeah.
And so it's still possible, right? And kids do cost more money, but like, how has that changed your path? Having the
Yeah, it's very interesting because one of the biggest criticisms that I got when we were talking about FIRE, when we read the book, is like you said, you don't have kids, that's why you can travel the world. And you know what? Now I have kids, I do have a lot of empathy for what they're saying, because I'm like, man, it's so hard to travel with a kid. It is way harder to travel with a kid. Not saying it's impossible, but it's absolutely like much harder. So I understand where they're coming from.
We just discovered what hand, foot, and mouth disease was, and man, it is not fun.
Do not recommend.
And check
Do not-
bags.
Yeah.
0 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, and all the check bags you got to
Check
bring.
bags.
Yeah, for sure.
that freaking car seat. I hate that thing.
Yep. They'll be
Yeah.
fine. Tuk-tuk.
What's interesting is that FIRE has given us this lifestyle design aspect that I realized that you actually spend less money as parents if you can do lifestyle design effectively. So to give you an example, if your job is flexible, that you can be remote, you can take advantage of one-off daycare rather than continuous daycare. For example, like what we're doing right now, we are only paying for daycare per the hour when we need it, when we're working on passion projects, and when we don't need it, we're spending time with him. If he gets sick and we don't want him to be in daycare, we can take him out. We don't have to be struggling with months of illness back to back. So even though like kids are definitely not cheap, they're not as expensive as people make them out to be. And one of the things I did was I researched the FDA number, USDA number, sorry, the USDA number. I think it said it was like more than 300,000, over 300,000 in the lifetime of a child that's how much they cost outside of paying for college. And when you actually dig down into that number, you realize that the people that they asked, the more money they made, the more expensive they said the kid costs, which doesn't make any sense. It's like, did the kid actually cost more, or you decided to spend more because of your social economic status and because of like other people spending that much on their children? That's something that I wouldn't have known before becoming a parent, that there was a lot of costs associated with convenience. Like some of it, you do need it for your sanity, but some of it really is just like, okay, other people are putting them into activities. I have to put them into activities because it makes me look poor and I feel bad. And then there's all sorts of
Hockey is very big here in Canada.
it's very expensive. All sorts of costs that like they're like emotional costs that as a parent you're like, I have to get them this toy. If I don't get them this toy, I am a bad parent. But in reality, they don't even care about the toy. They're just playing with the box. Like they want to spend time with you. They don't care about this toy at all. But you get sucked into this, right? Because we feel like it's tied to our identity as parents to spend more because it makes us better parents. But it's not true. And I think that FIRE did give me this perspective, because if I was working, I don't think I would have had time, because parents never have time for this. And I have so much respect for parents now. Like to all of you, like before I had kids, I'm like, I had no idea what this was like. Afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, every single parent deserves a medal. This is so hard. This is the hardest thing I've ever done, including engineering school. This is harder than engineering school. So like understanding where that's coming from and why it's so hard. And you really just want the best for your children. But sometimes that comes from a place of your identity as a parent, and you're actually spending in order to feel better that you're a good parent, rather than that's actually what the child needs.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that too is like our consumerism, right? Especially in North America, we are pitched, and you don't know as a first time parent, you don't know that you don't need all the things that they try and sell you, right?
Yes.
And in reality, I'm sure, we have one son, like you guys, and we bought a lot of things that we did not need. And so if we ever had a second son, we would know, or daughter, we would know we could skip about 80% of those things and still be pretty awesome parents.
Yeah.
You just want to do your best, and like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, I can see a lot of different aspects to this that are so exciting from your perspective of what you guys have done.
But touch on flying.
Flying. Yes. Oh, yes. So I know you mentioned being able to fly business class for almost nothing. That's super, super cool. I definitely want to hear how you're able to do that. Yeah. Actually, why don't we go into that? Do you mind talking about that?
I have a fun story for you. Okay,
Please.
So coming back from Spain, so we were sitting in Aer Lingus. So we actually got super lucky in that we got an entire row of business class seats to ourselves. So It's like Bryce, empty seat, me, and then our son. And he's 2 because I have to buy an extra ticket for him now because he's over that age, right? And then we see a bunch of passengers walking down. And then Bryce is wearing this like purple hoodie that says the word The Haven on it. Okay.
It's this kind
like
of
Vancouver retreat.
It's from a retreat. Vancouver.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody sees his shirt and is like, "Oh, you went to the Haven? That's so cool. Which sessions did you do? I also went there. Tell me about which sessions you did."
And I was like,
and then he's like, I got this from a thrift store. I got this from a thrift store. And then she's like, oh, that's even better. But you can kind of tell in her voice, she's like, what the heck? Right. And then you can see like all the faces of the passenger looking at us going like, who are these people that are wearing thrift store clothes and somehow their 2-year-old has his own business class seat? Like, how did you get here? Who are you people?
Our son, before he's turned 2, has now been in business class twice, actually 3 times, one of them in utero.
Before we gave birth.
And then twice going to and from Europe. And then another time he crossed the Atlantic on a cruise ship back and forth. So this kid has been around quite a bit. And why don't you talk about how you managed to make that work?
Yeah, so the business class seats is very interesting because before we had kids, we're like, okay, just spend the minimum amount of points. Just get economy because why bother, right? It's just we want to travel as much as possible. But once you have kids, you really want to be as comfortable as possible. And one of the secrets we discovered to business class is that it's not actually as like crazy expensive compared to economy as you think if you're using points. Cash is a different story. If it's cash, it's like 5, 6, 7 times as much, obviously. Like we could have spent easily 20,000 for that trip coming back. But with points, we spent like 50,000 each person. And the thing is, people think, oh, you're going to need 200,000 points per person in order to be able to do that. But it's actually related to dynamic pricing. And here's another thing that makes if you can lifestyle design, it makes it so much easier because if you have a flexible job and you can make your job remote and you have control over it, if you pick the low season times to fly, and not only that, you can book like last minute business class seats, like within the last 2 weeks, you can have all sorts of opportunities that you didn't know about before. Like business class seats end up being only 50% more than economy tickets, which with points, right? Yeah, which you wouldn't have thought about because normally when people are looking at it, they're just like, oh, it's 200,000 per person and we need like 600,000. Like I don't have 600,000 points. Forget it, right? Like don't even consider it. But because we know, so we mentioned this in the new book, like which tools that we use, there's like a whole bunch of them. There's a whole system to it. There's like a bunch of tools that you can use and you can set alerts for when the prices drop so that you can snatch those deals when they come, when they come around. And it makes traveling with kids so much easier. Like that was the best flight I ever had with my kid. And at the end of the 7 hours, I was like, oh, that's over. Like, I want to be on this flight longer, which is like not something any parent would ever say when they're on a plane with kids.
Yeah. And he would just poke at the touchscreen the entire time. And he was like, this is
I
the
love
best
it.
day ever. So it was like, yeah, you never ever fly in July, August, because that's when everyone else flies. And December, we actually flew like on like November 27th. 2 days later, the cost of everything like triple, right? So it's like flying off peak, flying in like the middle of the week on like Tuesday and Wednesday, and then using these tools, and you kind of understand how business class pricing works. Business class seats are the cheapest when you're flying, when you can book it more than a year out, or like
last 2 weeks.
Like last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like they're just like, these seats are just empty anyway, so we may as well get something.
Might as well get something for it.
Maybe
Before
get
they have
something
a
for
free
it.
upgrade for
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you learn how to play, like all these things are games, and if you just kind of learn how the rules work, like fire and money investing is kind of like a game. Travel is a game. Business class hacking and point stuff. It's all just this game that if you learn how the rules work, you can get this like a much more comfortable experience, but you don't, without actually having to spend the money, which is what our book is all about. It's it's parent like a millionaire, but you don't actually have to be one. Like a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the book is like how you get the same or better experience as what a rich person would get, but without actually having to spend the money.
Yeah. And honestly, that's living with wealth, because you are trying to still live life with the best hacks, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. So, I think a lot of people see this as like, okay, financial independence, I'm gonna retire early, but I gotta let my money make money off of itself in the US or Canada or Europe where the money is strong. And then I got to go live in Asia or Africa or somewhere that's like cheaper cost of living, right? So how were you guys able to grow your income and then still come back and live in North America? Because I imagine that's not an easy task either to get to that level.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is actually front loading the risk. We traveled at the very beginning to mitigate the sequence of returns risk, which is
the return risk is the risk of you retire and then there is a economic downturn and you're forced to withdraw money and sell, like as stock markets are plummeting. So
so by like what Bryce was saying, when we were getting massages, when we were living in the $500 a month condo, the yield from the portfolio is more than that. So you're basically taking that risk out of play at the very beginning. So you want to front load that, and then that's why we're able to let our portfolio growth skyrocket. And then once it gets to a certain point, then you can choose to live wherever you want.
Yeah.
That's
now
amazing.
now we can live in like an expensive city like Toronto or Vancouver, and then we're just kind of like, this is fine now, right? So it's about giving your portfolio enough time to grow to the point where it hits that financial runaway, which is the point where it just really starts growing faster than you can spend it, and then you're.
I also have to say, in expensive places, people also get they get suckered into believing that like you got to live like everyone else in that expensive city. A lot of the times, like everyone's driving, they need to drive every single day to work. That makes gas really expensive. They need to do all these activities because they don't have time to go and explore nature, do some of the free stuff, take advantage of like free library programs in the middle of the day. So once again, if you can lifestyle design, the city actually becomes way cheaper than you actually think, because time actually gives you the ability to optimize. Because most people are just like, they're not thinking, they're just putting out fires. They don't have time to like plant flowers. So that gives you the ability to like, oh, which part of the city does it make sense? It's going to be further to go to work, but I don't care. I'm not downtown. I don't need to go to work every day. It doesn't matter. This works for people who are remote as well. If you're remote working, why do you need to live in the middle of downtown where everyone else is also fighting for those really expensive rents or mortgages? I think that people don't have time to explore cheaper parts of an expensive city because they're so busy working. So even coming back to North America, it's not nearly as expensive as we thought it was originally when we were working. Because like I said before, we thought that we could only afford to live in small towns. We could only afford to travel for 1 year because it's going to cost $75,000 to $100,000. Once you have lifestyle design in place and you have the time to optimize, this whole world of possibilities opens up. And even coming back to North America, it doesn't have to be as expensive as everyone says it is.
That's awesome.
And you've had the time to be strategic about it, so you've utilized that really well. If a family wanted to start designing freedom first lifestyle tomorrow, what is one small practical step they could take tonight after listening to this?
So I would say that learning how to invest is probably the most important step that people can take, and it's a small step in that you start with a series of articles that we wrote. It's called the Investment Workshop. That's available for free on our blog. What people seem to like about this investment workshop is it's a series of like about 15, 20 articles that are kind of stitched together, and you can read it at your own pace. A lot of people find investment intimidating. So if they want to go up to like a financial advisor or they take a class or something like that, and they're not getting what they're talking about immediately, they feel stupid, so they don't want to like ask questions, and they don't want to and they don't and they kind of want to like drop out, and they don't feel good about it. This is something that you can learn at your own pace. Learn how to build a portfolio, learn how to open up your investment accounts, learn how to like connect it to your bank account, and learn how to just start playing around with a little bit of money and get comfortable doing that, because that is a skill that that once you get it, it becomes a superpower over time. And we referenced this a little bit earlier, that when we first wrote this series of articles called the Investment Workshop, it was like 8-9 years ago, and we're now getting emails from people who are who started doing this stuff, first read our initial version of this 8-9 years ago, and are now writing back to us and being like, "This made me a millionaire." So
Amazing.
So that's definitely that's definitely something that I think everyone should do, because it's just come to our blog and
we'll link that in the show notes.
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm going to add to what he's saying. There's a chapter in our new book called Make the Stock Market Pay for Your College. A lot of the things the parents tell us, and one of the criticisms of the FIRE movement is like, oh, but you don't have to save for your kids' college education. You don't even have to think about it. That's not your problem. Well, you know what? We do have to think about it now. And the thing is, we prove with math in that chapter how you can save as little as $200 a month towards their education and be able to pay for their entire degree. Like people, once again, it's using a lot of hacks, like using a lot of optimization strategies and combining them so that you can make the stock market do the heavy lifting. You make your money work harder than you, instead of everyone who's just trying to think about like, oh, do I work on retirement or do I save my child's education? I have to choose between one or the other. You do not have to choose. You let the stock market do the work so you can have it both ways.
I'm excited for that chapter.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been great. I do have a few more questions that we usually end the show with, so I'm going to get these out to you quickly so I can be respectful of your time. But you have landed so much good information. I'm sure our audience is going to love this episode. But as we close up, I want to ask you who or what or where has been most inspirational along your journey?
Oh, well, I would definitely say J.L. Collins has been instrumental in helping us break down investment in a simple way, hence the title of his book, Simple Path to Wealth. And also he really helped us push us towards writing Quit Like a Millionaire, because if it wasn't for him, we would have been like, this is too hard. Why do I even bother? I'm tired. I don't have to do anything. So J.L. Collins has definitely changed our lives. Places that have changed our lives, I definitely think not one specific place, but just general travel in general, I think has opened my mind up to so many different ways of living and so many different types of people that I feel like you don't necessarily have to live a nomadic life. It's just kind of getting out, like even if you're just going to another city or a different part of the city that you don't know, just kind of breaking that pattern in your brain and opening up your mind to like asking more questions and being more curious, rather than the way I used to think, which is, oh, I'm just going to get a job and then work until I'm 65, pay off my mortgage, and there's no other path. It's just hilarious. Like, I just thought that was the only way to live. And it's like either that or homelessness. Like, there's two extremes. Why is there no gray area? Like, try to open up. I think travel really opened up my eyes to thinking about the gray area, like different ways to live. And like you guys are doing entrepreneurship with real estate investing. Like, there's different paths to FIRE. There's different paths to make money. There's different ways of living. And it's not just like one script that you should follow. And please don't think very black and white of like I did, which is either be a homeowner or be homeless. Yeah, that's not that's the two extremes. No, it's got to be somewhere in the middle. There's shades of gray.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, next question. How do you find peace?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Well, right now, it's very hard because we're constantly being distracted by our toddler.
Yes. So before parenting, before becoming parents, I had an answer. Now we're
struggling. We're still figuring it out.
We'll let you know when we figure out his nap schedule, because we're
Searching
still
for peace. I love it.
Yeah,
Life is a journey.
I don't know right now, and someone's crying.
Yeah.
And to that note, there we go.
If you could sit with your younger self today, what's one piece of advice that you would give them?
Oh, I would definitely say like learn investing as quickly as as early as possible. And we're going to teach our son about that as well. Because coming from a poverty background, one of my biggest disadvantages is not understanding how money can make money, not thinking in terms of percentages and thinking in terms of dollar value. I'm going to save $50 here. I'm going to save $100 here. But percentages are actually what matters. Because like Bryce said, if you have a $3 million portfolio, all of a sudden 10% move is like $300,000. If you think about 10% of that versus like, I'm going to save like 10% on like $3 here or whatever, it's like 30 cents. Who cares? That's not worth putting your effort towards. And people who grew up in poverty, it's definitely not our fault that we were like that. That's something that happened to us. But being able to get out of that mindset and learning how to invest and understanding percentages over dollar value, I think that would be one of the most important lessons when you're young, because then time is on your side. You can use the power of compounding to the best of its ability.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's good.
How
All right.
about you, Bryce?
Yeah, I mean, like being good with money is something that I think a lot of people like talk themselves out of. Like, I'm bad at this. Like, as if it's like I'm, as if it's like an either or skill. Like, I'm a good painter, but I'm bad with money, or I'm I'm good at football, but I'm bad with like this other thing. Nobody starts off good with money, but being able to manage money is a skill that everyone needs to have, because no matter what job you have, whether you're a painter or a football player or a software engineer, you get paid with the same money that everyone else does. And if you don't know how to manage that, it doesn't actually matter how good you are at your job, because if you can't figure out what to do with the money after you earn it, then it all just gets wasted. So it's like, it's a skill that you need to have as a foundation before you even, as a foundation for your job, rather than like something that is like, well, I'm not good with money, but at least I'm good at this other thing. Like, the other thing doesn't even matter if you're not good at that.
Yeah.
So, it is something that I wish that people had I wish people had taught in school, and but it's not. So we kind of have to figure out how to do it. So I think I would have been more interested in that stuff back a lot earlier. I mean, we're doing okay for ourselves, so I'm not complaining a little bit, but yeah, it really is a critical skill that I wish more people had like exposure to a lot earlier on. Like, ideally at the high school level, but I know that that doesn't happen. So fortunately, we'll just have to rely on blogs to figure this stuff out.
There is actually a lot more movement and a lot more entrepreneurs, and we know founders that are bringing this to schools. So, and
great.
That's good.
That's great.
Great.
Yep. So next generation is in good shape.
All right. Last question. What's one thing that you've learned recently that made you stop and breathe and see life a little differently?
I think after a series of illnesses with our son, I really became appreciative of health and the ability to sleep through the night. Like, when you can do that after like months. Okay, so after we put him into daycare, we got 5 diseases in 2 months. And here's the thing about freaking daycare, okay? Oops, sorry. Before you have kids and you get sick, you're just sick with like an unnamed disease. Like, I have a cold, I have something, I'm just under the weather, whatever. When you get sick because of your kid, the diseases have names, and those suck. I hate them so much. When a disease has a name and I have to look it up, and I'm like, okay, this is going to happen, and then other thing is going to happen, and then pus is going to come out of here. I'm like, I hate this so, So being able to breathe properly and be able to sleep through the night and have a happy baby that just wants to, that gives you a kiss rather than throws up all over you, that I really appreciate that now.
I love it.
I think for me, it's your relationship changes significantly after having a child. That's not the thing I was prepared to. Like, everybody told me, like, this is going to be the biggest stressor on your marriage. You're not going to see it coming. And then I was like, oh, I'll figure it out. I have the fire thing. I'll figure it out. Like, even if you are fired, it definitely changes your relationship in ways that you don't expect. And once again, having the time to communicate before like you let problems fester and all that stuff, it really helps. And I also didn't realize how much women have to do as mothers in terms of just like biologically the things that we have to do, like the breastfeeding, carrying the baby, just because like that's biologically, we don't have a choice, right? And then there's like this maternal anger that I was not prepared for, even with like fire. I was like, why am I angry? I should be really grateful. I have all these things. But sometimes I'm just like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to do everything? I already gave birth. I already had the surgery and now I have to breastfeed. And now he's freaking out on me. I have suffered enough. Like that is the sentence I say all the time when I've had enough. I got it from Ali Wong's one of her skits on motherhood. I'm like, whenever I get into that state, I'm like, I have suffered enough. Let it go. You're doing too much again. It's unfair work. I know it's unfair. Just like let it go. Like, and then communicate with your husband about what you need. Because sometimes we don't ask for help and we're just like, you're supposed to be reading my mind. I can't tell you anything. I'm too tired and too sleep deprived. But it's like, well, he can't read my mind. I have to talk to him. So I was not prepared about how much it would change my marriage, having a child, and then having to navigate my own maternal rage, and then understanding how to ask for help. Again, as an A-type personality that got to fire, we are very independent. It's very hard for us to ask for help, and having to learn that, like, slow down and learn to communicate and ask for help, and then learning about emotional intelligence, because I'm not very good at dealing with my emotions. That's the other side of fire. It's like you don't talk about emotions at all. Everything's numbers, numbers, numbers. Once you have a kid, you have a family, you have no choice but to deal with your emotions, because if you don't, you will pass it on to your children, and then it's going to be horrible. So like just having to deal with my emotions, having to deal with learn how to communicate during my relationship. That is something that I was not prepared for after having a child. And I think it has made me, it has helped me grow as a person, but it's also very anxiety driving and sometimes very difficult to handle. But I don't regret it. And I'm glad I got to this version of myself, but definitely not something I was prepared for.
Yeah. I don't think any parent is prepared for what comes until they're a parent. And even then, it's such a journey. It's such a process, right? But it's really cool because as much as you've stretched and grown and learned in financial independence, there is that much you can further learn. And now you have the time to do it, to be the best parents, to be the best partners and spouse. So yeah, I'm excited for your journey ahead. And Kristy, Bryce, we appreciate you guys being with us, spending time and just sharing so many good, insightful tips. If our audience wants to connect with you or get your book, where's the best place for them to do that?
So if you want to connect with us, go to our blog, www.millennial-revolution.com. I posted all our socials. I posted our email address. Feel free to reach out there. And our book is coming out. It's called Parent Like a Millionaire Without Being One. And basically anywhere that books are sold, and it's coming out March 3rd, 2026.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
You guys, thank you again so much for joining us. You guys have been incredible. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for being part of the family today. If you want a closer look at our journey through real life, business, and all the wild adventures, follow us on Instagram at Our Family Invest. And for free resources to help you on your own path, head to ourfamilyinvest.com.
If you like this episode, send it to a friend. And if you're feeling extra generous, drop us a quick review. It really helps us grow this community. Thank you so much for being part of our family today. We really, truly appreciate you.